Welcome back to my video. This week we're gonna do the Osaka shopping guide. Last week I did the Tokyo shopping guide. If you haven't already checked it out, please check that out too. In any case, let's get right into the video. Oh, but before we get right into the video, please smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And so let's get into it. So firstly, if you want to go vintage shopping in Osaka area, the place I highly recommend the most would be the Amemura, also known as American Town. This area, there's a lot of streetwear, there's a lot of youth culture. Everything is concentrated around this area. Some of the vintage shops that I highly recommend are Jam, Pigsty, and Grizzly. These are kind of like a chain. They have multiple locations around this Amemura area, and they are not as curated, but they're also not as expensive. And so it's a good place for you to find cool vintage Nikes, sportswears, Carhartts. They're not overpriced, and so it's kind of like that thrifting vibe. And so yeah, I highly recommend it. And if you're looking for a more curated vintage secondhand store, I recommend Nation. It's a really nicely curated store. Another really good one is Epic Vintage and BMX. This place sells a lot of streetwear, music related, subculture related stuff. They also sell vintage military wares and stuff. It's a nice, cute little store. Definitely recommend checking this spot out. Another highly recommended store is Caldine. It's not a big store, but very well curated. The vibe is awesome, and so yeah, if you have the time, please do check it out. Moving along, if you're into European vintage, 1800, 1900, all that classic French, British military workwear, all that stuff, I recommend Asagi. Is a really cool store right in the middle of Amemura. And then there's another store called 117 and a bunch of other numbers behind. This store is a more kind of mode, high fashion style, oversized jackets, leather coats, all that stuff. I highly recommend it. It's got kind of like a 80s type vibe to them. If you're super into subcultures, art, music, fashion, I super recommend Fragile. The store has a lot of subculture stuff, a lot of band tees, a lot of deadstock 90s stuff. It's not a big store, but it's very, very deep and a potent really store. Super dope. Check it out. Another cool funky store in the middle of Amemura is Juku Funky Store. If you're into, nerding out, I highly recommend it. You're gonna find like vintage Japanese American stuff here. And another one that I recommend is Giant Baby. They also have a lot of vintage flannels, American stuff, workwear, fun store. If you're more into Japanese streetwear, international streetwear, there's a store called Imagine. It's a pretty well curated store. Do check that out too. Another area called Orange Street, not far from American Town, is a whole street of streetwear stuff. Bape is there, Undefeated, Mihara Yasuhiro neighborhood, a lot of streetwear brands. Real McCoy has a store there. Noah, North Face as well. So area that I recommend highly. There's also a couple sneaker stores there that are well stocked, and so do check them out. If you're a die-hard Yohji Yamamoto fan, then I highly recommend La Grande Rue. I think that's how you pronounce it. I hope I'm not butchering it. This store is Yohji Yamamoto archive store basically. It's considered the biggest Yohji Yamamoto archive store. Yohji Yamamoto himself, the designer himself, even goes to this store to shop, because that's pretty much the only place where he'd find the clothes he designed 20 years ago, and he can still find that stuff there, and so he goes there himself. And so yeah, so if you're a diehard fan, I recommend going to this store. If you want to buy Fear of God, ready-made, a lot of high street stuff. Go to Why Are You Here with a question mark. The store has a lot of those high-end, high street stuff. Hyder Ackerman. They're also an official Rick Owens dealership. Do check them out. If you're into Native American jewelry, I recommend Pine Ridge and Malaika. These two stores have a big selection of Native American jewelry. Everything is displayed neatly with descriptions of the artists and what they do, where they're from, where the stones are from. Very curated places. And if you want Goros, the Delta One store, they also have stores in Osaka as well. So if you're into shopping at department stores, I would recommend Hankyu Men's. The entire building sells menswear only, and Lukua, and also the Hanshin building, and also Grand Front Osaka and Namba City. Thank you for watching. That's it for this week. If you have any questions, do let me know. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.